We will show you the top 10 simple secrets to memorize everything you learn. Real life is not like in some movies where you can just take a pill to remember everything and use it whenever you need to, like in the movie Limitless. It would be awesome if this would be true. Sadly, it isn't. We never stop learning things throughout our entire lives, but we don't remember everything because we forget a lot of the things we learned. Why does this happen? How can we prevent this to remember things that we learned? Very simple. We've got you covered and we'll tell you about some simple memorizing tips and tricks that will allow you to retrieve any information from your memory whenever you need to. What? Let's talk about why we forget things in the first place. Your brain is like a fast hard drive, but the space is limited. So our brain tries to get rid of irrelevant information. It protects you from overloading with information by getting rid of facts it thinks you would never need. That's why all new information is stored in the short-term memory, and not in the long-term memory. This means if you don't repeat the information or use it regularly, you'll start to forget it very quickly. The German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus researched the human memory and its mechanisms. He described the forgetting curve. This curve shows how information is lost over time when there is no attempt to retain it. The studies show that just 1 hour after learning something new, we forget more than half of the learned information. What? That doesn't sound right. But it is. And 1 day later it is going to be even worse. We only remember about 30% of what we have learned the day before, depending on the techniques used. You can see where this is going. So what can we do to remember everything we learn? It's simple. There is a memorization technique called spaced repetition to keep the information in your head for longer. You need to try to get the information into your long-term memory. If you try to force the memorization, it is not going to be very effective because your brain can't build strong associations and connections. To memorize anything quickly, it all comes down to the reason why you are learning something new. The first situation is when you need to learn something quickly. You use it once and forget most of it. Like in a typical exam preparation where you thought it would be a good idea to study the night before an exam. Does this sound familiar? Tell us in the comments when you have been in a situation like this, and how you worked around this. Here is how to do it right. Repeat the information right after learning it. Then repeat it a second time, after 20 minutes. Don't learn during the breaks. Let your brain relax. Repeat the learned material for the third time after 6 to 8 hours. The final repetition should be on the next day. Approximately 24 hours after you started studying the first time. Give this method a try the next time you need to memorize something quickly. And leave a like on the video if we could help you remember something important. If you want to remember something for a long time, you'd need to extend the memorization period even further. The first repetition should be right after learning, just like in the previous technique. Repeat after 20 to 30 minutes. The third repetition should be only after 1 day, the next one after 2 to 3 weeks, and the final round is after 2 to 3 months. This way you can remember something for a very long time because, like we learned before, our brain tries to get rid of information it thinks that you don't need, but if you return to the information, it means that it's necessary, so it will not get erased. Now, here are 9 more tips that will help you memorize things simple and fast for a longer time. Counting down from number 9. 9. Try to understand what you are learning. You probably know what it's like when you're learning something, but you don't understand the information. This makes you want to pull your hair out because it just does not make any sense to you. What you should do is read everything and figure out what the main point is one by one. After this, try to retell what you have read, using your own words. Do it as simple as you can. If you can do this, it means you understood the information, and now it will be way easier to memorize the details. Number 8. Learn the most necessary information. If it gets too much and you feel overwhelmed, you need to focus on the important parts. Decide what you really have to know and what information you can do without just fine. Then focus on the key parts of what you need to memorize. Number 7. Serial position effect. Things that are at the beginning and the end of what we study are memorized the best. You can use this effect to your advantage by sorting the information, so that the most important information you need to learn fast are at the beginning and at the end. Number 6. Interference theory. Switch your attention from one topic or activity to another. For example, you're preparing for an exam. You've learned for 15 minutes. It's time to take a break like you've learned before, resting for 15 to 20 minutes. The best thing you can do is to switch to something completely different and let your brain relax. This is where you should be careful. By learning something similar during this time, the interference theory says that similar memories could get mixed and become a mess, and lead to you not remembering anything that makes sense to you at all. If you're about to learn something is similar to what you've learned minutes before, we recommend taking a long break before starting something new. Switch to a different topic instead. Number 5. Learn opposite things at the same time. Our brain can easily memorize opposites in pairs. For example, if you're learning a new language, try to memorize morning and evening together. This way your brain will build a connection between these two things in your mind. If you forget one, the brain might remember the second and help you recall the information. Number 4. Use all your senses. Record the information somehow. For example, you can simply use your smartphone. It might take you some time to get used to the sound of your own voice, even if it might seem strange in the beginning. But the more senses we use, the faster we learn. First you read the information, so you saw it with your eyes, and then you heard it with your ears from your own recording. The more contact you have with what you are learning, the better you memorize. It's as simple as that. You can do even more by rewriting and taking notes from your recording. Even using your body language while recording will help you trigger your muscle memory. Number 3. Use things that can be linked together. The point of this technique is to link one thing to another. If you need to learn one thing, try to find something that matches. For example, if you are learning the word door in a new language, you could link it with key, keyhole, door handle, wood, and so on. If you need to memorize a lot of information in a particular order, try to put the pieces into a story. It's important that the pieces are connected to each other, so you can always recall missing information, like with the opposites technique. Trust us, it works amazingly well. Number 2. Build your own mind palace. Try to connect the thing you were learning to something in your room. It could be everything, even events like a butterfly coming through your open window. Anything you can make a connection to later on. Repeat it a few times. After that, try to recall what the room looks like in your memory and repeat the things you learned. This way, the memorized information won't be something boring. This does not have to be limited to your room. Any city or place you love to be at should work fine. This way it will be associated with other memories, places and people you saw there and so on, and therefore be easier for you to remember. And finally, number 1. Don't stick to one source. Go online and find recent studies and information you can easily understand to make it as simple as possible. Don't waste your brain capacity on outdated information. There is always someone who has been there before, so you'll most likely find simple explanations on harder topics online. Do you know any other memorizing tips? Feel free to share them in the comments section down below, or share this video with one of your friends who keeps forgetting important stuff. Oh no! I forgot my closing sentence. Lucky I learned enough methods to remember it. Don't forget to click the subscribe button to join in and learn more with us in the future. A simple what can come a long way. Stay curious and have an awesome day.